What does happily ever after mean to you? Is it saying I do or something completely different? In today's show, we look at whether millennials and Gen Zs are redefining long-term commitment and what they expect out of love. I'm Anelise Borges, and this is The Stream.
Want to know why you should never get married?
Here are 5 reasons why I'm not getting married.
I am eternally grateful for TikTok simply because it has made me realize that marriage really is not it.
5,000 reasons why I don't want to get married.
What's a scam that's become so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore?
Marriage.
Look at me. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Do not bring that European nonsense into this ethnic household. Do you understand me?
China's birth rate is dropping. We all know it.
South Korea's birth rate 0.8?
It's the lowest in the world right now. The lowest.
I don't even know what the Korean government is trying to do at this point anymore.
You either gotta have extra money or time to have kids. Newlyweds these days have neither.
Have we as humans outgrown marriage?
Some of us, I don't want to name names, make pretty bad throat noises when they drink. And it makes me think that the throat is
me?
No.
Is it me?
It's not Travis.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own action.
According to the Pew Research Center, 56% of millennials are not getting married. Is it fear of commitment, inflation, high divorce rates among previous generations, COVID restrictions, or all of the above that have taken a toll on young people today? In East Asia, things have gotten so bad that Japan now has a friendship marriage agency, and certain Chinese provinces are paying young people to tie the knot. How will the decline in traditional marriage rates affect society and the economy in the future? Well, I'm hoping our guests today can help us unpack some of that. Anelise is a content creator who discusses Korean lifestyle and cultural topics. She's joining us from Seoul. Mossadeg, actor and host of Love Delayed, a series exploring the romantic life of young people across Asia. He's joining us from Singapore. And Amy Chan, a relationship expert and author of The Breakup Bootcamp, The Science of Rewiring Your Heart. She's joining us from Vancouver. Thank you all so much for joining us here on The Stream. I'm very excited about this conversation. I have so many questions for you. Amy, you wrote a book about this. Why aren't young people getting married?
There's many different reasons, and I'm going to start with it's really expensive today to be a human. And the reasons why people got married before, to have children, to buy a house, these reasons are just simply out of reach for a lot of young people. So they're saying, well, why bother getting married? And instead, a lot of them are cohabitating as an alternative option. And some of them actually lack the social and relational skills. So they're unable to meet people and to date. And the last reason is there's a lot less pressure now from society, from religion, from even parents. And it's now becoming normalized. So they're like, okay, there's no shame in this. I'm just going to stay single.
So there's a lot to it. Anna, it's not so much that young people don't want to get married, it's more that they can't afford it. Is that your case as well?
I would say in South Korea that's mostly the case. If you ask any Korean on the street and ask them why they're not married, they just say, we simply can't afford it. Also in Korea, getting married means that you're going to have kids. Because nobody in Korea has kids out of wedlock without getting married. So if you are married, everyone just assumes that you're going to have kids. So raising a kid from birth to around, university, it costs around $100,000. And the cost of a wedding in Korea is actually $35,000, which is actually more than the US or the UK. So that already costs a lot. And also it's just the housing prices in Seoul is just gone up like crazy. The average apartment price is $1 million US. So a person on a medium average salary in Seoul would have to spend none of their income for over 15 years to be able to afford a house.
Did you say $100,000 to raise a child? Did you say $100,000?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I should have thought about that before having my baby girl. But yeah, so it's super expensive. And as Amy said, there are other issues as well, right? Aaron, I watched Love Delayed very closely. Loved it. And in it, you were quite open about looking for love yourself. Do you want to get married? And why haven't you gotten married yet? The fans want to know.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get married. I still want to get married. And I guess I haven't gotten married yet simply because I don't want to have kids. So there's really no rush to get married and settle down. But I'm working on it.
You're working on it. Amy, as you said, financial reasons, a big part of the issue. But you touched on something there about our interactions and how much they have changed, right? I mean, for young people today, the most common place to meet someone is online. And that has changed the ballgame a little bit, no?
Definitely. Swipe culture has changed the way that we interact and the way that we date. Because if you think about it, you're just swiping every day, hundreds of people. You're looking at superficial qualities to see if they deserve another second of your time. And over time, doing this hours a week, a month, this does impact your psyche. And in a way, I feel like we are now objectifying people instead of humanizing them. And we're looking for these imperfections rather than accepting that we are all perfectly flawed human beings.
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody became a product, isn't it? Right, so let's focus slightly on Asia today. We may have to do another show on these trends in other parts of the world. But Aaron, you went around several Asian countries for your series, and among them, South Korea, the country that has the lowest fertility rate in the world. The government there blamed radical feminism for it. But according to this TikTok user, there is more to it.
What you have to remember is that Korean culture is based on Confucianism and collectivism. Of course, we adopted some individualistic values from the West, but especially for work, the culture is still very hierarchical, and you're expected to prioritize the group, the team, not yourself or your personal issues. Otherwise, it's considered selfish. I'll give you an example. This Korean lady has a very, very important meeting at work, but that morning her child is coughing a lot and she's the only one who can take the child to the doctors. Understandably, she chooses a child because the child means everything to her, but that also means that she's causing inconvenience at work, and they're not going to like that. Even if nobody says anything directly, she's going to feel guilty because she chose to be selfish. And if this happens more and more, people are going to give her nunchi to voluntarily quit work, or they're going to exclude her from important projects, which means no more opportunity for a promotion for her. So it doesn't really matter if the government offers more months of paid leaves and set the law that the company can't fire her. She's really not going to enjoy being in an environment where she feels like a burden and where she feels guilty all the time. In fact, in a lot of work interviews, Korean companies will ask you questions like, are you single? Are you planning on getting married? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you planning on having a baby anytime soon, etc.? So they can probably avoid you.
Anna, you are in Seoul at the moment. Can you explain to us this mindset and a little bit of the pressure that comes with the culture?
Basically what she said was all true, and especially in terms of women, there is a glass ceiling and there is a chance that you could get discriminated, especially if you're about to become a mother but you're still in the workforce. There could be a chance of discrimination against you. But honestly, South Korea is one of the most hardest working countries in the world. The government even tried to raise the maximum work week from 52 hours to 69, and there was a huge, massive backlash over this because people are already overworking too hard. And it's not just your work hours, but there's also lots of after dinner, after drinks, after work drinks with your bosses. And then so women, I think, especially find it hard to find that work-life balance between their careers and becoming a mother and like raising a family. I think that's really hard and difficult to manage for most people. Yeah. But they are throwing so much money at this problem.
The government is. And do you think that that is the way to go?
I mean, it's the least they can do. I think they spent about $217 billion in cash subsidies and trying to boost birth rates and all this. So it's the least they can do. So we'll have to see in 5 years' time if it's worked. But I really think it should help somewhat, hopefully.
It's interesting. I was going to ask you about that because In China, for example, some provinces are actually offering people money to marry. $150 in Zhejiang province, I probably butchered that, but only if the bride is under 25, which is very helpful. Aaron, the number of couples in China choosing to get married has actually gone up for the first time in 9 years. But for young people, it's a completely different story. China's sluggish economy and high youth unemployment rate in 2023 added to the worries that young Chinese are facing. According to the National Bureau of Statistics there, the country's urban unemployment rate among young people ages 16 to 24 reached a record high of more than 20% in June last year. After that, Chinese authorities stopped releasing the figure. Some estimates put the rate now as high as 40%. Back in October, Chinese President Xi Jinping said it was necessary for women to actively cultivate a new culture of marriage and childbearing. Here's one take on that from social media.
Y'all heard about the China's one-child policy? All the only daughters, including me, were raised as Mulan because we're the only child in the family. So our parents had no other options but to invest all their resources in us. So we were raised more like sons, not daughters. Growing up, everything we saw was that 生男生女都一样，妇女能顶半边天. So we were told that we were equal to the boys. But now after we grow up, they said,
no, you need to go back to the family, get married, have some kids, and just do all the mom things.
No, we were raised to become this independent individual, both financially and emotionally. We went to the same school as the boys, we got the same jobs, we're pursuing the same dreams. We fight as hard as the boys. No, even harder. And now you're telling me I need to put down my sword, take off my armor, go back to marriage, do cleaning and cooking every day? No, we're warriors. We do not accept that fate.
Aaron, is that something that you heard during your interviews, perhaps, for the series, or during your dates?
I do believe that, this is something that is happening because we are empowering women, right? So why would any woman put all this time, energy, and effort getting the best education, going to the workforce, and then when they get married and they have kids, they're the ones who are expected to stay home and give up everything that they've spent their whole lives building for themselves? It doesn't make sense. So I do think that Asian societies tend to be a bit patriarchal in that sense. So the moment you have a kid, it is primarily the woman's responsibility, and I don't think that's sustainable.
I wanted your take, Anna, on the aspect of how much is expected of women once they actually get into a marriage, and is that why some are actually staying away?
I think so, and I mean, back in the days, but even my parents' generation, the man could look after the household and the wife and the baby just on his one income. But these days, because everything is, the prices of everything is so high, both of the parents have to work in order for the household to just keep chugging along. And that means most of the household and the baby looking after goes to the mother, but she's also working her corporate job or whatever. So I think she gets a lot more work than she probably should be doing,
Yes, she does.
So,
yes, she does. I talk from experience. Amy, in Japan, people are opting for a different experience altogether. Take a look.
Why are people in Japan marrying their friends? With more and more young Japanese ditching traditional marriage, a new trend has emerged: friendship marriage. But how does it work? These marriages center around companionship rather than romance or sex. They provide practical benefits such as tax breaks, societal acceptance, and the ability to live together or apart while pursuing romantic relationships. Couples openly discuss living arrangements, finances, and even fridge space before tying the knot. And no, this isn't about marrying a best friend. A friendship marriage is a cohabiting relationship based on shared interests and values. Essentially, it's like finding the ideal roommate with whom you might as well have kids. In fact, around 70% of friendship marriages aim to have children. Japan's first friendship marriage agency, Colorus, has arranged around 500 marriages since 2015, with about 1.24 million potential candidates.
Amy, you say we should marry our best friend, but I guess that's not what you mean.
Not exactly. So Japan's friendship marriage takes the extreme of finding someone that's like a roommate, what I suggest we do is instead of prioritizing romantic chemistry and lust as the very ultimate top priority in a relationship, which is what we do in the West, I suggest that we prioritize friendship, but we want to make sure we are optimizing for a best friend that we still want to kiss. So it's just a flipping of prioritizing values, compatibility, being able to spend time together, respecting each other as the first priority. And the second priority is that there still is attraction. So it's kind of a hybrid model.
Very interesting. Anna, what is your opinion here? Do you think that these new unconventional types of marriage are bound to reshape the institution?
I think they're a great idea personally, because I think we often expect too much from our romantic partners. They have to be our lovers, our best friends, our therapist, our confidant. You also have to have same financial goals. They have to be everything, you know? Whereas, you know, with the best friend, they can just be your, like, you know, you have good relationship with them, but you don't necessarily need them to be the best lover or, you know, that kind of thing. They don't need to pick up all the responsibilities. And if you have the similar lifestyle and goals, then I think why not, like, do it for the tax breaks and whatever cash subsidies, make the most of it. I would do it.
You would do it? Ah, interesting.
I
Amy,
think so.
Amy, Anna just touched on something very interesting there. We expect our partners to be everything, our friends, our gym buddies, our lovers, our therapist. I mean, are we expecting too much from people? Is that why marriage as we know it might disappear?
Yeah, I feel that we are. And we're no longer in the West, we're no longer marrying for practical reasons, right? There was a major shift in 17th, 18th century, 19th century, where it really took a shift from marrying for economic, social, political reasons to really prioritizing individualism and freedom. And we want everything. And the reality is, when we are in a relationship, there's two main stages. In the very beginning, there's lust chemicals, there's a lot of dopamine, but we now know through research that those chemicals start to fade between 12 months to 2 years. And then the chemicals change and you move into what's called the companionate stage of love. This feeling of best friend. So what's happening in the West is we have these high expectations for this person to be like the fairy tales, and we know that will only last for about 2 years. So instead, we should prioritize for the companionate stage of love, which is that companion friendship type of love.
Aaron, where do you see yourself in the future? I don't know, in 10 years' time. Do you see yourself married with children in suburbia, or have dreams drastically changed?
In 5 years, I definitely see myself getting married. In 10 years, I'm not in a rush, but I definitely know that I want to settle down. I want to get married. Probably not suburbia, because suburbia in Singapore is really expensive. To touch on what Amy was saying previously, I actually want to ask, Amy, do you think that social media is is one of the root causes of this idealism that people have when it comes to modern day dating and relationships? Because I don't think it's a Western thing. I think any country that's modernized enough to have social media, you know, everyone has these unrealistic expectations and they don't know how to navigate it. In the 90s, it was movies, but now the lines are blurred so much that, you know, people really, really, really think that, oh, there's this couple and I deserve that, I want that. And it's so hard to find because I personally don't think it exists.
I love that. Aaron is now conducting the show. Go ahead, Amy.
Yes, it's such a great point you just made. And I totally agree. When we are on Instagram, we are sharing the best photos of our vacation, that kiss on the street. Everything is edited and filtered because we have a personal brand that we want people to see. We're not sharing the fight that we just had or the fact that we haven't kissed for over a month, right? And so when other people are seeing that, they're like, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to look like. And I don't have it. And then that can cause you to look at your own relationship and be like, oh, these are all the things that are wrong because it's not like that. But what we're not thinking about is that these are just advertisements. Humans have turned into personal ads, and we are unable to differentiate that, oh, this is an ad because it's not a movie or on a television screen, but it really is, and it's impacting our psyche.
And it's a cycle, isn't it? Because then the more we see these things, the more we want to achieve them, obviously. But then also, they look so expensive. They are so expensive. So we say we don't have the money, and we keep just frustrating ourselves. Anna, what about you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And do you have a question for Amy, perhaps?
In 10 years, I hope I will be married to someone nice and at least have one baby, whether that's a fur baby or an actual human one. I think at least one I would like to have. And a question for Amy. I just think modern dating right now for both men and women are really, really hard. And I think, yeah, also like things like dating apps like Instagram, those kind of things, they do affect everybody. And I think also girls can have this tendency to, yeah, just expect so much. They deserve the world. We want to be like queens and princesses and this kind of thing. And so I feel like sometimes we need to be slightly more, I don't know, like slightly more realistic, and we can't have everything in the world, right? So we can't ask our lover, our man or whoever it's going to be everything for us. You have to compromise in some aspects.
Amy, what is your advice for the women who want to be princesses and queens, etc.? What do you say to your clients, the ones that you advise these days? Manage your expectations, or no, go after your dreams?
Well, I have no problem with people going after their dreams. I have a problem when people have delusions and these unrealistic expectations that they want someone to have all of these things on a list. And a lot of them that are superficial, I think is a way that we self-sabotage. So I really get real with my clients and ask them, do you actually really want a relationship? And is your behavior aligned with what you say you want? And a lot of the times they need to take a hard look at themselves and recognize that these expectations that they have, they are actually a way of that they are avoiding intimacy. And when you dig deeper, it's because intimacy is very scary for them.
Where do you see relationships going, Amy, with everything that we just talked about here? Different issues, and it's a multitude of issues. They come from very different places. Will we see, again, friendship marriages emerge? Will people just stop signing contracts altogether and just live sometimes with some people and then change to another household? I don't know. Where do you see things going?
I think that there will be continuing a decline of marriage in the sense of having contracts, and these various ways of having companionship is going to become more and more popular. Unfortunately, I think that unless people start to learn the skills of how to be relational, not only how to date, but how do you stay in a relationship? Because that requires a completely different set of skills than courtship. We're going to continuously have people who stay single, but there is a loneliness epidemic, and this is a health problem. So maybe instead of having a romantic partner, I've heard the story about these friends that bought a house and that they just share a house together, and that's how they get community. But I feel like people are going to start to have to find creative solutions to create community, even if that's not a romantic partner.
The loneliness epidemic, we did do an episode about that here. Please do check our website. Amy, Aaron, and Anna, thank you all so much for being part of the stream today. And thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, you can help us build the next episode of the stream. Send us your questions and suggestions with the handle AJStream, and we'll look into them. Take care, and I'll see you soon.